Hello, I'm Corey Luxon. Today I'm going to be talking about the article written by Kyle Chalko. It's called The Invisible Cost of Not Having a Mentor. So this really appealed to me. I've always had mentors, leaders, pastors in my life. So Kyle basically found a mentor in Mr. Dr. Jay Herndon. And so Kyle basically approached him, asking Jay to be his mentor. He didn't know how to go about it. Thought, he didn't want to be weird about it because a lot of times I guess folks maybe think it's too structured to have a mentor. They don't really understand what that means or how much time's involved, that sort of thing. And so he had the discernment and wisdom just to approach him very humbly and just ask for some time where they might connect every once in a while, very calm, chill, privately, just ask some questions. No motive or agenda, just for Kyle to be able to learn. So, of course, most people at that point, whether they consider themselves a mentor or not, are going to want to give back, want to help. So, basically, Jay had recommended that Kyle go back to school, which wasn't on Kyle's radar, to basically bump his credit total from his master's at 36 credits to 72, so basically doubling that. Kyle at that point didn't know how he was going to be able to do that because he was only able to, based on life, what was going on in his life, take one class per semester. So he was feeling kind of discouraged. He thought maybe it was going to take forever. And so his mindset was, well, the only way I can do this is just to kind of chip away. So Dr. J encouraged him just to apply. And so, basically see what God does, ask for favor. And so Kyle did that, used that wisdom. He was coachable and teachable, so he reached out to the universities and kept getting the gatekeepers, which kept giving him the padded responses of, this is our process, and, you don't qualify, that sort of thing. Basically just disqualifying, blocking him, and blowing him off. So Jay gave him an idea, which I would call a loophole, where each university each year has different X amount of exceptions that they take. And so instead of calling, Jay was recommending that he just fill out the application and pay and kind of get the file going, so to speak, as step one of the acceptance process, because it had to go before a committee. That was the only way to get an exception through, is if they put their blessing and granted that. So after many calls, Kyle was able to get accepted into George Fox. He was able to take get 18 units of undergrad work accepted into the graduate program as credit. And what Kyle originally thought was impossible became possible, because the Bible says all things are possible to him that believes. So the work of the gospel is just to believe. We many times think that it's to do something or to perform or, to try to do something good with our gifts and talents and abilities versus, just believing. We see we have to do something. Belief is just believing. It's not doing something, it's actually just believing and allowing. And so that's what happened. A couple verses that came to my mind: ask, seek, and knock. The verse about, him that comes to God, if he seeks, ask, and knock, it will be open to him. And also that we have world overcoming faith. And so that's what happened. So basically God redeemed the time that would have been spent. Kyle called it a life hack. So without that key piece of information from that mentor, it would have costed Kyle, he said, about $10,000 and 2 to 3 more years of work. Maybe he would have quit or got discouraged or taken a break and never come back to it. A lot of people put things on the shelf and then they just procrastinate based on fear. So I like to say we don't know what we don't know. So instead, he was able to harvest a blessing. He was able to stand on the shoulders of his mentors, what I call it, just kind of the mentors pay it forward. And that's really what discipleship is. That's what Jesus was trying to do with his disciples, kind of cut down their learning curve so they weren't reinventing the wheel. But we need an expert voice in our life, somebody that's went before us, somebody that sees the blind spots, which is why they call them blind spots. We don't see them. We don't see what's around the corner. So why not have somebody be able to do that for us. I have a friend that says we can learn from our pain or the pain of other people, and it's always easier to learn from other people's pain. So anyways, those experiences, mistakes, a lot of times we won't see the mistake, but it's a loss of opportunity, growth, potential realized. Kyle says it's like a plane going over, and we're oblivious to it. I like to say it's kind of like having your hands in your pocket watching the parade go by, being passive instead of being active. Saving years of frustration, saving high blood pressure, heartache, and it's free advice. It's not like it even cost. I mean, it costed that person, but it just cost a little bit of time. And so instead of being on the hamster wheel and wasting time, energy, and effort, it's able to be saved. So avoiding conflict that could be there, crisis, kind of the bull in the matador. You're just getting out of the way, So I've had great mentors in my life that I'm super thankful for. And it was a very encouraging, inspiring article.